You tired about talking about Vice?
No, I actually don't talk about Vice very much.
If you look up Vice on YouTube, there's like this big narrative that Vice like collapsed or they sold out. I'm not really a Vice hater to that degree.
Yeah.
I think that they made a lot of really, great content, much of which you were a part of. But obviously there was a financial collapse of the company that occurred, I guess, sometime between 2015 and 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You left in 2021, kind of on the heels of that collapse.
Yeah.
Looking back, before you left, what do you think caused the fallout and kind of the disintegration of the company?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a Vice hater either. In fact, I'm very grateful for having had the opportunity to do so much stuff, especially because I've seen how difficult it is to sell stories to other publications. I mean, it's very hard. I'm making things completely independently now, partially by necessity. It's like, I'm not gonna sell my show to National Geographic. I have to make it on Patreon. And Vice allowed me a huge amount of freedom. So to be clear, I'm actually not a Vice hater. I'm a Vice appreciator, and if anything, I feel a sadness. I feel like a sense of lost potential because something bad happened, which was a lot of things that happened at different companies in different ways, happening in concert in a very major and destructive way. One is like hiring executives that you pay multi-million-dollar salaries to, which is a pretty common thing at major media institutions. But I think the president of Vice, Nancy Duboc, was making like $2 million or something like that a year, maybe even more.
And she wasn't like a journalist.
No, and I think that's probably more than like the editor-in-chief of the New York Times gets paid, right? So it's like right off the bat, that's like the budgets of these companies are a zero-sum game. And if you pay the CEO or whomever millions of dollars, that's money that you're not paying to journalists. And ultimately you need to support people who are being tasked with risking their lives to tell stories and taking these enormous risks on a daily basis. So part of it was coasting on the coolness of the early 2000s where they had a bad habit of underpaying people significantly, which was fine, when I was 21 or something like that. Like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna pay you for this magazine article, but we can't pay you to do this video, but like we can allow you to make the video. Like that was kind of the way a lot of stuff was at the beginning, where they would come up with some little way of shortchanging you, but it was so fun to make these things that it was easy to say, all right, fuck it.
And it's like the hippest thing around. So you're thinking like, all right, even if I don't get paid for this particular piece, I'm still gonna be able to grow my profile and maybe make different bags and do different hustles outside of this, right?
Right, and when you're 21, it's really easy to manipulate people when they're young because you have that feeling of, I'm sure you had this as well, where I think you've talked about this before with All Gas No Brakes, where they were like, oh, we can just, he's just a mic stand. We can just find someone else to be Andrew, right? So that's a game that all these people love to play, where they want you not to recognize your own worth. And it's like, oh well, you want to go to the Amazon and get paid, well there's someone over there and they'll probably go for free. So you can play those kinds of games with people, especially until they recognize their value. And so that was part of it, overpaying executives, underpaying the people who are responsible for carrying the company. Like my show was, depending on exactly what metric you looked at, either number 1 or number 2 between my show and Desus and Mero. And instead of really investing in supporting the show, there was a lot of resistance. They also did let me get away with a lot of crazy stuff, so I don't want to sound too ungrateful, because there is part of me that recognizes that there was something really cool about the entire enterprise. There was that. Then there were, of course, culture war type, cancellation type issues with a lot of the executives at the company who had built their brand on being ultra edgy and partying hard and selling advertisements by having sex with executives and having, it was sort of, there was a lot of press about the non-standard workplace environment. I never really saw that much. I mean, people definitely partied, but it wasn't like
lines of coke in the bathroom, people banging by the fridge or anything.
No, definitely not.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
There was a bar inside of the New York office though, right?
Yeah, but everyone was working so hard. Like, I mean, I don't really drink, so it's not that surprising, but I never drank a single drink at that bar. And I don't think I know anyone that did.
It was just there as a courtesy.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe someone who's touring could go get a drink at that bar, but everyone else was probably so stressed about getting whatever it was they were making done that they weren't even thinking about having a good time. So that was part of it. There was a massive campaign to destroy them. Once the story of someone's destruction becomes a story in and of itself, it has this sort of self-sustaining, destructive effect. You see this actually a lot on YouTube, where like someone almost becomes more famous for their disintegration than for who they really are, and then people just keep making videos. Like this happened with this guy iDubbbz. I don't know if you know who this is.
Also Brendan Schaub. I don't know if you know him.
Brendan Schaub is another one.
They just fucking tear him apart.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of happening with Will Smith right now. I'm not sure if you saw his recent freestyle.
I have not seen it.
Oh man.
This is the bounce back. Here come the bounce back.
He's on this sort of hip hop revival PR run. It's really bad. And I fuck with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So it's really hard to watch, but I know what you're talking about when they're like the ukulele apology lady.
Toxic gossip train, you're chugging down the tracks of misinformation.
Right. And it's like all these people like Brendan Schaub or iDubbbz or the ukulele apology lady, I only know them because of watching people attack them. That becomes the spectacle that overtakes whatever the thing being commented on actually was. So there was a lot of schadenfreude and glee associated with their downfall, which I also kind of get, right? Like they annoyed a lot of people. There was a kind of grating element where going back many years, you could tell that there was an appetite for their destruction.
Well, they were the coolest. And you can't be the king of counterculture for too long because it's all about new, young energy, right? I mean, if they would have just corporatized and stood on it, I don't think there would have been such glee about the downfall. If they were just like, we're gonna sell out entirely and we're just gonna become like absolutely nerded out to the core. But Vice was at the top of the food chain when it came to like countercultural content output. So I feel like everyone's like, oh, Vice, it's only because they're like really number one. Like you'll just see that. And I think that because they weren't paying journalists a lot, you have two really dangerous things happening at one time. You have high cultural capital on the underground, but kind of some resentment being harvested on a grassroots level within the company.
Yeah.
Those are the two worst things that could possibly collide.
Yeah.
Because people from within are like, yeah, we're cool, but did you know these fucking dudes who are up top aren't cool, and we're actually the cool ones and we're not getting paid? That's how you see, and we might have to cut this out, but I see Eddie Huang, he made a whole fucking movie about how Vice sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. There's been so many people milking like the Vice sucks train.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I still see stuff on Vice where I'm like, this is tight. They made the documentary about us for All Gas No Breaks after the Vice had sold out and hired executives, and I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was good.
Yeah, like it's not as if they're not making anything dope anymore.
Yeah. It's like, it's also weird because a lot of what made Vice so good was, at least for me, the hands-off approach. That there was very little bureaucracy and micromanagement of what I was doing in a way that would have been totally impossible elsewhere. I got away with some crazy
That's
shit.
the second time you said that. What is the most heinous thing that you were able to get away with on the company dime working for Vice?
I mean, I made a episode of my show that demonstrated entirely how to make MDMA from start to finish. In
like a tutorial.
I wouldn't call it a tutorial. It was documentary work, but it showed in tremendous detail exactly how MDMA is made. And the entire time I was doing it, I was thinking, am I going to get away with this? Am I just going to actually televise the entire process in exquisite detail? And the answer was, yeah, I got away with it. And I made an advertising campaign for the show that ran in the New York subway system that also showed how to make MDMA and just told people that it didn't. And that was enough.